following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised.
98 FM's
Dublin Talks.
Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
And we're back again. Good morning. How are you this morning? I'm Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. So what have we got coming up on our programme today? Well, I can tell you it's a busy one. We'll be joined live in studio in just a moment by a young Dublin man who's been live tweeting his experiences living on the streets. We'll be talking to him in a couple of minutes. Yesterday we spoke to a cafe in Lusk that is giving free breakfast to hungry school children. There was a huge reaction to this, actually. We'll be talking to a school in Finglas in just a second that runs a similar breakfast club, but also talking to people who are calling this child neglect. A little bit later on, I want to talk to you. Are you somebody who goes to bed with a teddy bear as a grown adult? Or maybe a teddy bear you've had since you were a kid? If you are that person, you're not alone, believe it or not, because a survey out today shows that an unbelievable percentage of people are actually doing this. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And much more besides between now and midday today, and live from Dublin City Centre. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. And if you want to get in contact with us, it's very, very, very easy. You just send us a text or WhatsApp message to 0877 98 98 98, 0877 98 98 98, or you can call us about anything that you hear on the programme today on 6797 981. Now, first off in the programme, yesterday we spoke at the start of the programme to a cafe from the Rush area of Dublin that is providing free breakfasts for kids going to school, because the belief that some kids are going to school hungry. This particular cafe or deli in Rush is providing free breakfasts. And we got a number of messages reacting to that, and a lot of people saying no child in Ireland is going to school hungry and all of that. This is so here's some of the comments that come in. Barbara, and see if you agree with any of these. Barbara said, I think every school should provide free hot breakfast for students funded by the state. We can well afford it. But then by contrast, Gavin said, I'm livid listening to this. This is bull. There are no kids going to school hungry. Not a hope. You can buy Weetabix for €3. There is no excuse. And then Jake said, this is pure and utter child neglect, plain and simple. If a child arrives at school hungry, the school should notify child services and have the parents done for neglect. And it raises the whole question. In fact, I'm going to be talking to a guy in a couple of minutes who is homeless and living on the streets and jumping from hostel to hostel, and we'll find out his whole story in just a second. But it raises the whole question, do you believe that children are so destitute, that some children are so destitute that they are actually going to school hungry? Text or WhatsApp your opinion on that to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Text or WhatsApp if you want to get in contact with us. And the reason we mentioned this is we heard about the cafe in Rush and Lusk that is doing this, and we've been also notified of a number of schools that provide a breakfast club. And I want to find out a little bit more about one in particular, and this is St. Malachy's School in Finglas that provides a breakfast club. And I'm joined on the line by Paula, who is the school secretary and who runs the breakfast club. Paula, tell me why you set this up in the first place.
Well, I actually didn't set it up. It was set up more by the HSE, but we set it up, we brought it into our own school only this year, because there's a number of different reasons, Adrian, for some children, if they didn't get a breakfast in breakfast club, they wouldn't get any at all. So it's really good, obviously, for those children. Some children like to come to school and spend time, have their breakfast, have a little chat and sit with their friends before they go into class, and it relaxes them a lot. And then there's also parents who work, So it helps those parents as well, because they can leave the children, like we take their children in for breakfast club from 8 o'clock in the morning. And they're there until 10 to 9. They go straight out from the school out onto their line for school. So if it's raining or if the weather is bad or whatever, they can come in and have a bit of peace and quiet and be warm.
Okay, so in some cases it provides convenience for parents to be able to just drop the kids off at school and the kids can have their breakfast before they go into class. But in other cases, it's for kids who probably wouldn't get a breakfast. Why would they not get a breakfast at home?
Well, Adrian, family circumstances. You know, there's situations, I'm obviously not going to go into anything specific, but there's situations where some children just get up and get themselves out of school. You know, there's situations where people at home mightn't be well, or there might be too much going on at home, might be too many children and Mammy wouldn't have time, or Mammy might be sick. You know, there's all sorts of reasons why they wouldn't get a breakfast at home.
Do you believe that some children, because this was debated yesterday on our programme, a lot of people don't believe that kids are going to school hungry. You believe they are?
Well, listen, I wouldn't say that all children, because most children wouldn't be, no. But there is certainly an element of children that would go to school hungry if there wasn't a breakfast club.
How many children avail of the breakfast club?
Our school is a very small school. We have 149 children, but we would have 30 to 35 children for breakfast every morning.
So it is a service that is being taken up?
Almost certainly.
Is it something that other schools should consider introducing?
I think a lot of schools do. And to be honest, I think every school should have a breakfast club.
For the children or for the convenience of the parents?
Well, for both, David. I mean, as a working parent myself, my children are well grown, but I would have liked to be able to avail of it. Not because I wouldn't give my children, I wouldn't have time or whatever to give my children their breakfast, but it would just mean that I would be able to be in work on time, because I had to arrange my work time. I'm a school secretary. So when I had to bring my children to school, I had to arrange to come in 10 or 15 minutes after when I should have been here.
Okay, so it would be very convenient for
a lot of
parents.
Yeah.
A lot of people who contacted us yesterday were saying that if a child is going to school hungry, it is down to nothing but bad parenting. What would you say to that?
I wouldn't think that's fair, because if there's a case where a child is going to school hungry, there's circumstances. There's a reason for that, and you know, maybe not bad parenting. The parents might have problems. You know, you can't just put it down to bad parenting. Like anybody who is getting up in the morning and going out to work or whatever, they're not going to send their child to school without breakfast or without anything. But if a parent has problems or if things are not 100% right for the parent, obviously it's going to reflect on the child, and not only at breakfast time, but throughout the whole day. And if we can only provide breakfast and set them up for the day, and then we provide lunch in school, so they've got 2 meals that we know they've got before they go home. All
right, but it sounds like a brilliant facility that would be great to see in all schools around the country.
That's exactly the way I think it should be. Because, I mean, let's be honest, it's being funded, it's funded by the Department of Social Security, so, you know, and that's funded by the taxpayer. So I personally think that everybody should be able to avail of it. It's not everybody that will, but they should be able to.
All right, Paula, school secretary, and the lady who runs the breakfast club at St. Malachy's in Finglas. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us on 98 FM.
Okay, thanks, Adrian.
And a lot of you still sending us messages about this. Fact is, children are going hungry without breakfasts to school. Those who claim this doesn't happen are snobbish idiots. Every school should provide free breakfasts for students. And actually, that raises a question. This particular breakfast club that we're talking about in Finglas, and a number of schools are doing it, is provided by the HSE. And here's a question for you, and I'd love to find out how you feel about this. Let's do a very quick Dublin Talks text poll and ask this simple question. Should every school, because by the way, in the UK this is very common practice, should every school in Ireland provide free breakfasts? It's a very simple question. I want you to text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. It's a simple question. Should every school in Ireland provide a breakfast club for their students? Just text the word yes or the word no to 0877 98 98 98. Now, by the way, this is funded by the taxpayer. I should imagine it would cost a pretty penny. A number of schools are doing it, but should every school do it? Simply text the word yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. And, you know, this is for convenience for parents. It's also for kids that may be going to school hungry. And at least we will know that every child in the country is actually getting fed before they start their school day. Another message says, my kids get breakfast but never eat the lunch provided in school, which I think is because the lunch in school lunchtime is not enforced. So keep those votes coming in. Yes or no? Should every school in Ireland provide a breakfast club for their students? Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Bill, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Bill?
How are you doing, lads?
Bill, you can't believe that there are some kids going to school hungry.
No, I'm amazed that some kids are going to get hungry. I'm not saying that. No, I'm just amazed that there is children going to school hungry. I'm absolutely dumbfounded. I didn't think this was happening this day and age anymore.
I have to be honest. Before yesterday, and before I heard about this cafe in Russian Lusk feeling the need to provide the service, I never realised that this was a thing.
Neither did I. I mean, when I was going to school years ago now, when it was only black and white, you know what I mean? Like, we used to get, like, sandwiches on days and a small bottle of milk going to school. And I don't know whether they're still doing that. No, my kids don't. Their school, like, you know, we live, you know, our school is the rural part of the country, but I was absolutely amazed. I really was. I didn't think it was happening these days. I really didn't. I'm just shocked.
Now, you heard that school, and they were describing how...
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And a number of other schools do it, but that's just one school in Finglas that is doing it. But they say it's for a multitude of reasons. Some for the convenience of parents who might have to get to work early. But the other is...
a good idea.
Yeah, it is. And the other is in case... There are some kids who get up and maybe mammy's sick or mammy's got issues or whatever, and they end up walking out the door without having anything to eat.
Yeah. Well, like, my kids' school don't do it like that now, in fairness. But, you know, they do have a breakfast before they go to work, and, you know, you go with a packed lunch as well. Now, my son, he's in a creche, and they have a breakfast club there as well. But again, you know, he gets there. I drop him after I drop them to school before I go to work myself. But, you know, he gets 3 meals a day in the creche. So I'm not too worried about that. But, like, as I said, I'm just stunned that kids go to school hungry. I as I said, I didn't think it was a thing. It's very sad. It's actually very, very sad. There's children in this country going hungry now. It really is.
It is very sad.
And a friend of mine, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. A friend of mine just gave me a ring there about it as well. He said, listen to 98 FM. And he was saying to me that his neighbour 2 or 3 doors down, he does know that their 2 kids go to school hungry because there's very little food in the house. Your mommy and daddy can smoke their brains out day in, day out. But yet they would rather buy 25s and buy food for their kids, which is that's just wrong with you.
I do agree that in some cases it is down to parental neglect that they've, you know, their priorities up their arse. But in some cases because they haven't a washer and they can't afford it. Although I think a lot of people believe that that's not very widespread. That it's not. No,
it's not widespread, but it does happen. I'd say.
Liz, you don't believe that you find it hard to believe that this is happening.
I think not so much that I find it hard to believe it's happening. I know it's happening. I just, from the reaction you got yesterday, anyone would think that what was being said was that all these kids who go to breakfast clubs need it. And I don't think it's as much of a percentage like that they need it as to them all making use of the convenience.
And even
kids who just want to go.
Yeah, even the school admitted that. But what they did say, and here's the way perhaps we should be looking at this. Yes, for some kids they'd avail of the service for the convenience, but for other kids, they don't have to admit that they're going to school hungry. They can just go to school and have a breakfast.
Yeah, and I agree with the last caller. It is really sad. And I do put it down to parental neglect. If your child is actually leaving your house hungry and they're going not for the convenience of it because you have to go out earlier, or if you're sending your child to school hungry because for whatever reason you haven't even got a pan of bread in your press to make them a slice of toast in the morning, that's parental neglect. It is, no matter what way you look at it. No child should be leaving the house hungry in the morning.
And I totally agree with you. Keep your votes coming in on 0877 98 98 98. The question is, should every school in the country provide a breakfast club? And that makes it easier for parents, obviously, who have to get to work and whatever, but also for those few kids, and I do believe it's the exception rather than the rule, of kids who are hungry going to school, at least they would get a breakfast. Mark, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Mark? Hello, Hiya, Mark. How are you? What did you want to say?
I was just saying that I think they should as well. It's got to be the cheapest meal to prepare of the day, and probably the most important for kids going to school. You could buy, I'm sure you could bulk buy a huge amount of porridge or bread just to make toast, cereal, pretty cheap these days.
Yeah, I agree, but you see, a lot of people argue that, there is no excuse for kids going to school hungry because it is so cheap to put a breakfast together.
There shouldn't be any excuse, but unfortunately there are kids going to school hungry. My wife works in a school in a disadvantaged area, we should say, and they have a breakfast club too. And there's a huge amount of kids go to it.
So you believe that it should be right across the board, that every school should provide a breakfast club because it's not going to cost an awful lot of money? Obviously, it's going to cost money.
It's going to cost some money, obviously, and obviously we're going to pay for it as taxpayers, but I think, first and foremost, you've got to take the kids' welfare into account and make sure that they've got some breakfast so they can concentrate on the schoolwork for the day.
And at least we know every child is being fed.
That's it, exactly.
All right, let me read this message. I think lunch is more important. 3 years ago, I tried to create a company that could provide the hot meals for kids in school at lunchtime. I tried to get HSE and the government involved, but I was put down so many times by different institutions, give reasons that the government doesn't have extra money to fund it, or it would be too much hassle if someone would get food poisoning and so on. And another side of this coin is, Jean, your son may go to school hungry, but it's all his fault.
Yeah, he's absolutely totally stubborn. He is not interested in having breakfast before school and refused point blank to eat anything.
So would he fall into one of those, into that category of a child going to school hungry?
Yeah. Now, in fairness, he is provided with a breakfast every morning. He has toast or cereal that's put in front of him, and he just will not eat. So that's another flip on that coin about the breakfast. It may not necessarily be the fact that you're sending your kids out hungry. It's the child who is stubborn themselves and won't eat.
Okay, so that's why he's going to school hungry, not because you're not providing a breakfast for him.
No, exactly. Yeah. And he's 11 now. He's got Down syndrome as well, but he's one of these kids who's really, really stubborn. He's not going to do something if he doesn't want to do it himself. You know.
All right, so he would fall into that category. My boyfriend says this message is a teacher, and many kids in his school come in hungry. It's a DESH school, which is, for those of you who don't know, a school in a disadvantaged area. Many families don't have the money to put food on the table. His school even get money together to put hampers together for Christmas for these kids that won't have food on Christmas Day. So important, says that message. Peter, I'm going to talk to you straight after the break, just to get your opinion on this. You don't believe there is any excuse for any child ever going to school hungry?
No excuse. Okay. Absolutely no excuse.
Stay there for 1 second, Peter.
98 FM's Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. Huge January sale now on in all departments.
98 FM.
I know a lot of you are, when you're listening to the programme, you're in work and whatever, and it's hard to make a phone call. You can send text messages or WhatsApp messages, but you're listening to the show and you can't be on the air with a phone call. You could send us a sneaky WhatsApp voice message if you have a comment that you want to make, just like this one.
Good morning, Adrian. I think these breakfast clubs are a great idea. Long gone are the days where the husband could go out to work and mammy could be the homemaker, get the kids up and look after them. The prices are so expensive now for mortgages and rent, €500 a week, that two parents have to work. So they probably have to go out earlier than the kids to get up for school. So I think it's a great idea, these breakfast clubs. And then they get to school a bit earlier and they get to chill out with their mates and have a catch-up over breakfast. Yeah, fantastic idea. Brilliant.
Okay, now we were asking you on our text poll whether or not you think there should be breakfast clubs in every school in the country. 65% of you said yes. 65% of you said yes. 35% of you said no. Peter, you don't believe there is any excuse for any child ever to go to school hungry?
Absolutely, Adrian. I think it's an absolute disgrace for any child to go to school hungry. It's inexcusable. And I don't think, like, this whole thing about people, don't have money, right, etc. I can understand that some people have hardship, and I get it. I've seen it firsthand with people I know. However, priorities need to be set, right? I can walk into a post office in the morning time up in a local shopping centre where I live, right, and people can pick up their dole and stuff, and I watch them selecting what they need to buy. However, if you want to go, if your kids need to have breakfast, you can walk into Aldi with €3. You can get a box of cornflakes and 2 litres of milk. €3.
Okay, what about the convenience? I mean, we were asking whether or not all schools should provide a breakfast club.
I think it's a great idea, right? The breakfast club is brilliant, right? However, I don't think the breakfast club should be free to everybody.
Oh, you should have to pay, pay something towards it.
I do agree that people that are in hardship, right, mightn't have to pay towards it, but people that actually aren't, and people that have the few quid to be able to pay for the breakfast club. So I think it should be, on a basis where if it's needed by the person, the breakfast club should be provided. However, if it's what would you call it, like an add-on, then you pay for it.
Yes, okay. So if it's for parental convenience, then you should pay for it. Yeah, then pay for it. Okay.
Yeah, well, absolutely, because that would then help to subsidise the rest, you know what I mean? But I think anybody, Adrian, that goes and buys themselves a packet of smokes and leaves their kids hungry should be ashamed of themselves.
Couldn't agree with you more. All right, 65% of you in our poll said you agree that every school in the country should provide a breakfast club. One final message on this. The biggest issue is not that even the HSE wants to be involved, but schools don't want to do it because time schedules in schools are too tight. Also, teachers would need to be involved a lot, but the school teacher doesn't have the extra time or energy to do it. Well, they do in some schools, as you heard from St. Malachy's and Finglas. They're able to do it. It's the school secretary who runs the whole thing, and fair play to her. That was Paula that we were talking to earlier on. Anyway, 65%. It's something to ask your politicians about the next time we come for an election. Now, next on the programme, as a kind of well, not really a follow-on, it's a Dublin man has been live tweeting about his situation living on the streets of the capital. He's been tweeting about the indignity of asking for money on the streets, the state of the hostel situation, and his struggles to get back on his feet. Lee is a 31-year-old, and what is fascinating about his story is that he is not your stereotypical homeless person, if there even is such a thing in 2019 Ireland. He's not an addict of any sort. He just fell on hard times and has struggled over the last year to get back on his feet, get a roof over his head, and get back to work. His name is Lee, and he joins me here in the studio at 98 FM. Lee, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Lee, let me just move that microphone over to you there. That's grand. Now, Lee, tell me firstly a little bit about yourself. Everything was going grand for you. You had a nice job in AIB, and things were going great.
Yes.
When did it start to unravel for you?
I suppose when I lost my position with AIB, my contract ran out. And I just recently lost my dad. So with losing the position in AIB, I wasn't able to find accommodation. So I was kind of couch surfing, one friend to the next or partner to, and obviously you can only do that for so long before you outstay your welcome. So you kind of have to realise, the only services available are in the city centre, so you have to avail of those services.
Mm. So what was the situation that you found yourself... You say your dad passed away, but you didn't have a good relationship with your mother, is that right?
Unfortunately not. Like, I love my mum to bits, but growing up, it was kind of my dad that held, the family together. Like, we only lived in a small cottage, so together we always kind of logged heads. So when my dad's passing, we were both have depression, so the two of us on the same roof, wasn't a good idea. So, something had to give. So unfortunately, you know, I moved out and I was couch surfing, and you know I ended up in the city centre.
Now, couch surfing, for people who don't know, is basically kind of sleeping on your mate's couch.
Yeah, exactly. It's gone from one place to the next, you know. But like as I said, you can only do that for so long, you know, before you outstay your welcome.
Are you in contact with your mother?
Yes, yeah, briefly, like, but
so going back there isn't an option, is it?
No, it's not. It's not an option. And like at 31 years of age, it shouldn't be an option. Like I tried to find accommodation. I remember like when I was 20 and avail of like the HAP scheme back then, the rent allowances scheme, and I was just told, you know, that I wasn't eligible. You know, I didn't have kids, so I'm just better off going back home. So I was sleeping in my car for a few weeks.
So, okay, so you had a job with AIB, everything was going grand. You find yourself out of work, your dad passes away, your relationship with your mum isn't good, so staying at home wasn't an option, and you literally found yourself at 30 years of age on the street.
On the street, yeah, and I couldn't believe it. Like, it's my worst nightmare has become a reality.
And I know from it would be my worst nightmare. I see guys sleeping in doorways like you have done, and I think, oh my God, how would I cope? And I don't think I would.
Exactly, it is heartbreaking. Even for me, walking past, like, I know I am homeless. Like, it's heartbreaking for me to watch and be in this situation and see other people in this situation who don't deserve it. You know, and I try to help them as best I can. Obviously, trying to help myself as well. But it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Now, I suppose it's important to say this, because, and I don't want to pigeonhole people who are homeless, but you're a guy who, as I said, up to a year ago was working in a bank.
Yes.
You don't have drug addiction issues. You're not a heroin user or anything like that. No. You're a good-looking young man.
Thank you very much.
You dress quite well.
I try.
So you don't fall into that.
I would have made more of an effort if I had known it was going to be on the radio.
You don't fall into that stereotypical category.
Exactly, yeah. I'm like,
and are there many like you? Have you met many people like you?
Believe it or not, there was a friend of mine that I met actually on a night out one night a few years ago, and you know, he suffers with depression as well, and you know, he's in a very similar situation, but he's gone down a bad road. He's gone down, you know, and it's very easy to just fall into that category of, you know, drug addiction, you know, especially being surrounded by 24 hours a day. Like, that's, you've nothing to do all day. There's no services. Like, the service is available to go sit down and have something to eat, but there's nothing to keep you occupied throughout the day. You know, you're just left walking the streets.
So tell me about, you were doing the couch surfing with mates and everything else, and I get that you can't outstay your welcome. You can only do that for a couple of weeks before they tell you to leave, and you don't want to have to be told to leave. Yeah. So you leave before you're told to leave. Yeah. Have any of those friends reached out to you and offered you something more permanent?
No. Absolutely not. No.
Right, okay.
No.
So now you're in a situation where you're sleeping in hostels and going from bed to bed and not being able to get a place till 4:30 in the afternoon. But the biggest problem that you face is that you're in a catch-22 situation, that you can't get a job without an address, and you can't get an address without a job.
Exactly. Like, if you don't know where you're going to be sleeping at night, you can't focus on the job, you know? And like, you don't know where you're going to keep your stuff.
So what's a typical day for you?
Typical day is, you know, like say this morning, like obviously I'm actually doing something positive and joining the gym again, which obviously keeps me occupied and helps with depression. I love training, so with actually the help of my followers, one guy reached out, made a donation which was enabling me to save and, you know, apply for a gym membership. So I'm going to do that today, but you know, other than that, a typical day is just, you know, you're up at 6:15 this morning, and then you're kind of walking the streets, yeah, like, and you might, like, I have to ring at 4:30 in the afternoon, hope I get a bed, because I'm Fingal County Council. I'm not given priority, unlike Dublin City Council applicants. You know, they can ring at 2:30, so I have to wait until 4:30 and hope I get
because you're from outside the Dublin City area.
Yeah, exactly.
You're originally from Santry.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so I wait till 4:30, then hopefully get a bed, and then like I might not get to bed like till 11 o'clock at night. So that's 6:15 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, just walking the streets. You know, there is some day service available.
So in terms of money, you have none.
Exactly.
Do you get any social welfare at all?
Yes, I do receive a social welfare payment. But as I said, you're walking the streets all day. Like you need to sit down, you need to eat, you need to like buy bits and pieces, and like it doesn't last long.
Okay, let's look at it yesterday. What did you do yesterday? How did you occupy yourself yesterday? Take me through your whole day from when you woke up. Where did you wake up?
Yesterday I woke up in Merchants Quay, the homeless shelter. I went out and actually received my social welfare payment yesterday. So I had to go out to the sanctuary for that. So I got the bus out there. It's kind of just about wasting time, unfortunately. You know, obviously I tweet a lot now. I spend a lot of time online.
And by the way, your Twitter handle for people who want to follow you is Homes for All 2019, which really says it all. Homes for All 2019 is Lee's Twitter handle if you want to follow him. And a lot of people are following you now.
Yeah, they've been brilliant. They've been reaching out, and you know, it means a lot. Okay,
so you went to collect your social welfare. Yeah. And then what?
Just kind of went for coffee, bit of food. I actually met another presenter there off near FM. Kind of talked, met up with me, kind of had a discussion, you know, talked about my situation, trying to help, which is great. Like people need to reach out to people that are homeless, you know, because it's a very lonely situation to be in, you know.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Have you friends?
No, I've no friends really anymore. I'd used the friend term very loosely, talking about some friends.
And you told me off air, and I know you don't want to discuss it, and I can understand how you possibly don't have many friends as a result of things that have happened. But so you literally spent the whole day yesterday on your Todd roaming around doing
just waiting to get the free phone number at 4:30 and hope you get a bed for 11 o'clock at night.
And did you for last night?
Last night I did, yeah. So
where were you last night?
Last night it was in Merchants Quay. So again, I got in, it was 11 o'clock. Again, the beds are available. When I say beds, I use that term loosely.
In fact, yes, I saw one of your photographs.
It's a yoga mat on the floor with no pillow. You know, and you're in a room with 20 other guys, and then there's another room downstairs, another 20 or 30, you know.
How do you... I know one of the things, and I spoke to somebody last year who ended up in the cycle of drugs and everything else as a result of being homeless. I can see quite clearly you're not a drug taker or an active drug user.
Yes.
How do you stay away from that? Because I know that it is a big problem.
It's very tough. It's a tough thing, but like you just kind of have to realise there's somebody better for you out there. Like there is hope, you know, and only for like my followers on Twitter. Like I would have given up a long time ago. You know, people reaching out to me, it meant a lot. You know, I said, look, there is a chance. Like I have a good work history, and it's just a matter of someone, a TD, someone getting off their arse and doing something about this situation and kind of sorting out accommodation, you know, for people who need it.
What sort of work did you do in the past? You said you worked in
it's always kind of been sales, customer service, you know, that type of work. And I started working when I was 12 at McDonald's, and then I worked my way up, I did different jobs.
So are you looking at this period in your life as just I'm going to get out of this, or do you despair some days?
Yeah, I do despair some days. So, I do suffer with depression. I think that's very. I
think anyone would in your situation.
But I think it's quite common in general. Anxiety and depression is very common these days. But yeah, there has to be a way out of it. There has to be, there just has to be.
All right,
I keep telling myself.
I'm going to take a quick break, Lee, and I'm going to come straight back to you after the break. I'd love to hear from you. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And I want to get that heartless dickhead on the phone. Let me get this right. He has a social welfare payment. He goes to the gym. He's tweeting all day and can't sort out his life. Were you not listening to that conversation I've just had? See if that person has the balls to answer the phone, lads, will you? Yeah, we'll take a quick break and we'll continue our conversation with Lee in just a moment. And if you've any comments, you can text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98. Back in just a second.
98 FM's Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. Huge January sale now on in all departments.
98 FM.
This is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today, this Tuesday, the 8th day of January 2019. I'm in the middle of a conversation with a lovely fella, I have to say, and talking to him off air. Lee is his name. Lee fell on hard times about a year ago. He was working in the bank. Everything was going great. His contract expired, and he then found himself in a situation because of family issues. issues that he is now homeless. He was couch surfing for a couple of months, and obviously you can't outstay your welcome with your mates and all of that. And now he finds himself in a situation where he's literally going from hostel to hostel. In fact, you were saying to me during the break, Lee, that your day is primarily focused on making sure you have a bed for tonight.
Bed at night, exactly. Yeah. I have to wait till 4:30 in the evening, every day, to make sure I hopefully have a bed. Sometimes I don't. And what
do you do on days that you don't?
Well, once or twice I have slept out rough, but only for Anthony from Inner City Homeless Help have reached out, and he's an absolute godsend. He's the only one that seems to be out there, fighting. He's a legend, fighting for the homeless. So I'm very grateful to him. I want to say thank you very much if he is listening. He has got me out of a few holes a few times.
Okay, let me come back to that horrible message that I read out before the break, who smartly wrote back to us, no, I can't answer my phone because I'm actually at work. But anyway, what's stopping you getting work?
Well, simple. I have no base. I have nowhere to work from. I don't have a suit at the moment, but if I did, where do I keep it during the day? And as I said, I have to wait every day till 4:30 to see if I get a bed in the evening, and I don't know where I'll be or if I'll have a bed. So how do you and also the address, I have no address to work from. So how do you get over that obstacle? Now, if I had, for single men, it's very tough. Women and children, they're given priority. Fair enough, and they get a hotel room. It's not a great situation to be in. It's not nice either, but it's stability.
It's better than sleeping on a yoga mat.
And better than sleeping on the streets and walking the streets for 14 hours a day. So if I had some sort of stability, that'd be great. I've been to landlords and asking about the HAP, and everyone out there knows it's not accepted. Granted, it's all well and good saying they can't refuse you, it's illegal, but so what? They don't care. They'll just say, right, grant, I'll get someone else.
They do find ways around it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been to loads of them, and the queues are out the door for 2 days. It's just there's no hope with that HAP scheme. Whoever brought that in, it was ridiculous.
Just on the work situation, I'm not going to name the company, but a company has been in touch with us just a moment ago to give us a phone number to give to you for you to contact them straight after here with an offer of a job.
Great, I really, really appreciate that. Whoever that company is, I'll be in touch, and thank you very much.
Okay, and it's a very well-known company here in Dublin who is offering you work, and we will pass that on to you as soon as we're finished.
Very much appreciated.
Stick on those headphones, Lee.
Yeah, sure.
Let me take a couple of phone calls. Mona, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. How are you, Mona?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, you know Lee.
I do.
What did you want to say?
Just that I can vouch for everything that he's saying. I've known him for quite a while. And people making stupid comments, and I just don't see how he's supposed to get a job if he actually has no fixed address.
And that is the problem, and I can get that. I can understand how that's a problem. Applying, sending in your CV, address, no fixed abode. It's not really going to look good for an employer, is it?
No.
And what else do you want to say? Lee wouldn't be the only one, and he doesn't fall into that stereotypical category of a homeless person. No.
I had my sister with me over the Christmas and her partner, and I was telling them about Lee, and obviously, my sister's partner and all, start following him on Twitter as well, to try and make a difference, and the first thing both people said to me was, he doesn't look like your typical.
No, and he doesn't.
You mentioned yourself that he doesn't.
No.
And I've known Lee a while now to the point where I've known his situation is, everything he's saying is true.
I've absolutely no doubt about it, and one of the reasons that's why I was fascinated by his story, and having him here in the studio, it's even more powerful for me to see a guy who's just an ordinary bloke who's just walking the bloody streets every day. And
more so than anything, it's the fact that he's willing to help other homeless people. He's in the same situation himself. I know that kind of community and all. A lot of homeless people do try and help each other out. And I've heard of it before, but to know that someone that you've known a couple of years to end up in this situation is,
it's awful,
is hard,
Absolutely, Thanks for your call,
Mona. Thank you very much.
No problem. Bye.
Thank you very much indeed. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Is there a good community spirit with all the other homeless guys in your situation?
Yeah, there is, and there is and there isn't. You know, everyone's in tough times, but kind of somehow group together and kind of get each other through it. You know, a friend of mine does suffer depression, and he has spoken about taking his own life a couple of times. You know, which I can relate to. So
why, have you felt that way yourself?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have. Like, as I said, I suffered depression, but helping other people, and especially of a friend, it kind of pushes me forward and gives me a reason to keep going, keep doing what I'm doing, and get up in the morning and be positive, and try to get through the day, and try to help him out. Like I try to sort of phone out for him, and go to meetings, and it keeps me focused. And it gives you something, to focus on and be positive about. And, if I see him getting better, feeling better, automatically I feel better.
All right, Brendan, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Brendan?
Hi, Adrian. Hey, Adrian. How are you?
You're touched by this story.
I am very touched, yeah. He seems like a nice enough chap, I have a studio apartment there in Dublin 7. If you wanted to get in contact with me later on, I might be able to show it to him and come to some sort of arrangement.
Wow. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
That's two numbers we're giving you, a job and somewhere to live, hopefully.
Yeah. There is very kind people out there, but they're just not in the doll.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way as well. Brendan, that's very decent of you. We will be in touch with you as soon as the programme is finished, and we'll have a chat with you. That's very decent of you. Thanks very much indeed.
That's no problem, Adrian.
Cheers,
all right, that's very nice. Okay, hopefully we can sort out something with that, and we'll put you in touch with that company. And let me take one last call. Mohammed, you are a physician, and you see homeless people coming into the emergency department every day, quite simply because they've nowhere else to go.
Yep.
Good morning, Adrian.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking me on the show. Absolutely. And anybody making light of this situation or saying that somebody is doing this by choice, I think they're completely deluded and not aware of the facts.
I totally agree. You wouldn't, Lee, be in this situation if you'd had any other option.
Exactly, yeah. And I can relate. Like, I know a lot of people that use the service, the hospital service, just for a place to stay.
And I've seen it myself. I've been in emergency departments, and I've seen it myself with people coming in and just hanging around and whatever. It's a very difficult one, though, for the hospital service to cope with.
You're very right, Adrian, especially given this time of the year where you have increased number of elderly people coming in with chest infections, and the flu season is just about to kick in. Overcrowding can be a huge issue. It just is very difficult for us as a physician to look into these cases. But again, we have a good support network in the hospital, social workers and everybody who we put these people in touch with. And again, I have to say hats off to Lee. A lot of these homeless people coming in to our emergency departments have drug-related and alcohol-related issues.
Yeah.
Which Lee doesn't have.
Yeah. But it is very easy to see
people. So hats off to him.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Mohammed.
Using Twitter or Jim, I think they're just ignorant. You continue doing what you're doing. And
that's very decent of you, Mohammed. Thanks very much indeed.
Very much,
a number of you have been in touch with us asking what Lee's Twitter handle is, and it is at Homes for All 2019. His name is Lee. You'll find him on Twitter if you want to follow him, and we're going to get you loads of new followers today. In fact, I can see your followers is already up, and we've already sent to your phone the contact numbers for the two people, one offering a job and that man Brendan a couple of minutes ago, hopefully with perhaps somewhere to stay. And I keep my fingers and toes crossed that both of them work out for you. Lee, thanks very much, Lee, for popping into us, and I'd love to say enjoy the rest of your day. But you're going to the gym this afternoon.
Yes, exactly. It's a positive day.
Yeah, it's a positive day. All right, good to talk to you, Lee. Thanks very much indeed. What a lovely fella. All right, there you go. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. On the way after the break, the nurses are planning to go on strike later today. They are to announce dates where they will be striking. We're going to be talking about that in the next hour and lots more besides.
98.
Live Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98 FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Tuesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Skeletal remains found near Ferns, County Wexford yesterday are believed to be those of a woman. They were found in Ballyandrew by a woman out walking her dog. The Gardaí are now trying to establish the identity of the woman and if she died naturally or in suspicious circumstances. A new ticketing system under the Bus Connect plan will bring Dublin more in line with other European cities. A ticket will likely cost €2.50 and will allow passengers to make any number of bus, Lewis and Dart journeys within a 90-minute period. The Nurses' Union is due to announce later when it's staging the first in a series of 24-hour strikes. Members of the union voted overwhelmingly for industrial action last month in a row over pay and staff shortages. And Dublin City Councillors will hear details of a €12 million plan for George's Dock today. A white water rafting course, a water polo and kayaking pool and a water training facility is proposed for the area. The aim is to attract tourists while also being used as a rescue training centre. And now you're up to date on 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Tuesday morning. I hope everything is good in your world. And when you hear a story like Lee's, you have to look at your world. You have to look at your life and realise how lucky an awful lot of us actually are. They do say that any one of us can fall on hard times at any time, and you could end up in a situation like Lee. I have to say, and I wouldn't often say this, he's a genuinely nice fella. Talking to him off air and even talking to him face to face, he just comes across as such a nice guy, and I really have my fingers and toes crossed that he can get everything sorted. He has all of those contact details of the man, Brendan, who said he might be able to help. He has a studio to rent in Dublin 7. We've given him Brendan's number and also the job offer from a very large firm here in Dublin that you will all know, but I don't want to name them, have offered him, asked him to get in contact. So that's two different numbers for him to contact, and we'll let you know if there's any development on either one of those. Just a couple of your messages. I'm chuffed for Lee. Some nice people out there. Shame the government only think of themselves, says that message. Thank you very much indeed, Dublin Talks. Lee is a beautiful soul, and it breaks my heart to see some of his tweets. Love and respect to all for helping. That's from his brother Herb off Twitter. And let me just see one or two more messages. For those of you who don't have Twitter or don't use it, you can just Google Homes for All 2019 and you'll be able to view all of his tweets. Please tell him to stay strong and he will get there. And I can just tell by the guy, I'm usually a relatively good judge of character, and I know that guy is going to get sorted sooner rather than later, and I really have my fingers and toes crossed that he does, and we'll keep in touch with him. It's one of those stories. We all have a stereotypical image of who these homeless people are, that they're abusing the system, that they're declaring them as homeless when they don't need to be. Nobody would voluntarily sleep on a yoga mat with no pillow and not know that you're even going to get the yoga mat until 4:30 in the afternoon. Nobody would voluntarily choose to do that. Not for in a million years. If you want to follow Lee on Twitter, his handle is at Homes for All 2019. At Homes for All 2019. Now, next on this Tuesday's programme, I want to talk about the nurses, and I want to hear from you about our nurses. If you or a family member has a hospital appointment booked for the near future, we have bad news. The Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation, the INMO, will announce dates for strike action for its members at 3:30 this afternoon. A vote held back in December saw 95% of INMO nurses and midwives ballot to go on strike. The strikes will involve nursing INMO members withdrawing their labour for 24-hour periods. And this is a dispute over low wages as well as the huge problem with recruitment and retention issues. We know that an awful lot of our nurses leave the country. They work in the UK. They work in places like Dubai, where the paying conditions are better, quite frankly. Now, while there's been a lot of support for the nurses online, with everybody agreeing that nurses deserve more money, many are saying that striking is not the answer here. Our health service is already on its knees, and it will be completely crippled, especially at this time of the year, if nurses over the next couple of weeks take 24-hour strike actions. These strikes are not going to help an already crippled health service. If any of you have had any experience with the health service over the last couple of weeks, particularly if you've to go through A&E, you will know how bad it is, particularly here in our main city centre hospitals. It's just chronic. It's chronic. Now, one tweet that we came across has interested us, and it says, "Money? I've a mother having cancer treatment and a son with a heart condition. I don't care about money. I need these nurses to keep my loved ones alive. I support their strike because they are not being paid enough for the job that they do." And Maxine, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Maxine?
Hi, not too bad.
Maxine, that was your tweet that I just read out. You've been tweeting support for nurses, even though two of your loved ones are quite sick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, my son is 8 years old. He's been sick since he was very small. So I've had a lot of interactions with nurses, and for the past 8 years. And now my mother's been newly diagnosed with cancer. So we're going to have even more interactions with them over the next few months.
Now, a lot of people will argue that some people believe that essential services like nursing should be barred from striking, that it should not be possible to bring our health service to its knees. They apply that same rule. In fact, that rule actually does apply to An Garda Síochána. They're not allowed to strike, even though they find ways around it. But in terms of the bad situation that we have in our health service, surely nurses pulling 24-hour strikes here, there and yonder is going to just make the situation an awful lot worse for your loved ones.
Well, what else are they supposed to do? I mean, if you have any interactions with hospitals and nurses on a regular basis, you will see, because the main reason why they're striking is because the pay that has been proposed, they're saying we won't be able to retain and recruit staff with that level of pay. That's the main reason why. And this goes back to the point that I was making, that you go to any hospital in the UK and you'll find an Irish nurse. You go to all over the world.
You go to hospitals in Dubai and Australia, you'll find an Irish nurse, because they're not staying here.
They're not staying here, and they're also the most qualified. The degree course here for nurses is one of the best. I mean, they have to go to college for 4 years, and when you see the work that they have to do, I mean, you're talking about A&E this time of the year. I remember around last Christmas being in A&E in Crumlin with my son. You could tell that those nurses were at breaking points. You could tell they were quite stressed. The place was packed. They just had to keep going. I've been in hospital in the middle of the night. I've been in hospital at quiet times, at busy times. This idea that they're being paid enough for the work that they do is nonsense. They're constantly on their feet. They're constantly going. And they have their own families and children at home as well. And they're looking after my family. And for a wage that actually they can't buy a house with. That's, I think that the average is 31,000, and I think it's incremental up to about 40,000. That's not enough to buy a house in Dublin.
No, it certainly isn't. Some people believe that there should be a different wage structure for nurses here in Dublin, for example, that they should get more than somebody working in Portlaoise or whatever.
I think nurses, for the job that they do, for the amount of time they spend on their feet, for the amount of time that they have to think on their feet, they're literally saving people's lives. A nurse 8 years ago saved my son's life. What value are we putting on that? Not very much.
No, I mean...
They are saving people's lives.
the salaries for nurses are anywhere between 30 and 40,000 a year. It's fairly pathetic if you think of the work that they do. I don't think many of us would work for that. But a lot of people argue. In fact, I just got a message here from somebody who won't go on air. I won't pass comment. But anyway, the health service has been crap for the past 25 years. They knew what they were getting into and now they complain. I have no support for this lot. What do you say to that?
I know people who are nurses. I have a nursing family. I don't think when she started to study nursing that the idea of the pay was really the first and foremost why she wanted to be a nurse. She had a passion for caring for people, and, so that's what she wanted to study. And I see that, we see that in the hospital all the time. They are getting paid terribly, yet they're brilliant at their job. So I don't think it's really that's the primary reason why people go into nursing. But in saying that, they do need to have enough money and to be paid enough to live and to be able to buy a house. They're professionals who've gone to college for 4 years. They should be able to do that.
I'm just looking as I'm talking to you about the pay grades for nurses, and like a staff nurse or midwife after qualifying starts at €24,850. Good God.
That's horrendous.
It really is. You have to be a senior staff nurse or a midwife to be earning maybe around 46 or 47,000, which, again, you're senior, so that's nearly as high as you can go. And on all of the pay scales for nursing, I can't see any nursing, even the most senior nursing staff, I can't see one who will get over €50,000 after being qualified for years and years and years. You need to be like a director or the assistant director of public health nursing to earn over 50 grand. It's...
Yeah, 50, on 50 grand, for example, now my son has a cardiac nurse. She would probably be one of the more senior nurses in the hospital. She's there years. But for the amount of money that she's being paid, she has to be available on the phone to me at all times. So she could be talking to a bereaved family, and then the next thing, then I'll call her with some random question about medication. I've been in Crumlin Hospital at 8 o'clock, woken up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and she's wandering around. And at 10 o'clock when I'm going to bed, she's still there. So that's what she has to do for the wage she's on. It's not easy. It's not an easy job. And really, we should be supporting them and appreciating them more for the work they do.
One of the worries I know that the government has is that by giving in to the demands of nurses, it is going to open up the floodgates from all public sector workers.
Well, they have the money there. The amount of money that the government has spent on spin, the amount of money that they spent on, stuff like, how many million did they spend bringing the Pope over? They had a deficit in the budget. They had money
surplus,
left over a surplus.
And we put it into a rainy day fund.
Yes. So if the money is there to pay frontline workers more.
Okay, and you obviously see nurses as being almost in a category all by their own because of the service that they provide.
Absolutely. They provide more services nearly than the doctors and consultants, in my opinion. Definitely the junior doctors aren't being paid enough for the work that they do. But they're saving lives. A lot of people, I think nurses are just there to take temperatures and do blood pressure. No, they're saving lives. I see them in the heart ward, in the heart unit in Crumlin where my son is. They're there at night. There's machines going off. There's alarms going off. They're there, front and centre, running into wards, checking what's happening. They're there. They're the most important people in the hospital, and we're not paying them enough.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Maxine. Our telephone number is 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. At 3:30 this afternoon, the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation will be announcing dates for strike action of its members. This is all to do with pay as well as recruitment and retention issues. So this is all to do with the fact that not enough are being recruited, that they're not getting paid well enough, and it becomes a kind of a vicious catch-22 situation that they can't hire them because they're not paying well enough, and then even the ones that do get trained end up leaving the country anyway, so we can't keep them. We've been speaking to nurses privately on Twitter this morning, getting in a sneaky tweet, but they're up to their eyes in work today. Frank, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Frank?
Adrian, how are you?
Frank, you want to see nurses just, walk off the job?
I think what they should do is give the government a certain date, a month or two's notice, of an all-out strike. And no going back to work till it's sorted out.
I know, but you'd never have an all-out nurses strike because you would always have to...
Adrian, that's what they need to do. And for that absolute gobshite that texts you in and says the nurses knew what they were signing up to, if every single nurse out there was to have that attitude, there'd be no one going in. So there'd be no one to look after his little flair when he gets one.
But if I'm becoming a nurse, right, I know that as a student nurse I'll get paid 14,243. When I become a staff nurse I'll be paid 24,850. And the pay grades go up very slowly after that, but they do go up. And you know, I know what I'm signing up for.
But just look at Adrian, you're signing up for a career to care for people and do a good job. To do a good job on any job, there's your job now. You do a good job. You want to get paid a premium price, yeah, for the job you do. So there's these nurses putting in 4 and 5 years of hard work.
No, but I would argue with you, and I'm only playing devil's advocate here for a second, Frank. I would argue with you that I wouldn't, for example, have taken the job here at 98 FM if the pay wasn't good enough. Similarly, you could argue that why would you take a job in nursing if they're not paying enough?
You go into these girls and these guys, Adrian, are going into college, they're going into medical school, whatever you do to be a nurse. All right, they're doing that for a career. They're doing it for a career to get a good pay, a decent way of living, and now also to help people. Okay? That's the profession they want to go into, and they should be able to go into it and come over after 4 or 5 years and get paid a decent money. See, listen, let me explain to you about the government that people need to realise out there. Every single politician that comes to your door at TD, no matter what party, independent or not, has private health insurance. They are never going to be affected by what goes on in the hospital because they won't have to look at that in the front line or put up with that. They'll arrive at their beacon, the matter private, they'll go in where nurses are paid a good wage because they're working for the private sector. They won't have that. And people need to realise that they're wasting their time. And I mean, I've been listening to this now for years about the nurses looking for a decent pay. And I think now they need to just put it to them and say, come August or whatever, on such a date, we're going out, all out, end of story.
All right, stay there for 1 second. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp your comments to 0877 98 98 98. I want to know whether or not you will support the nurses. They're due to announce a number of dates for 24-hour stoppages later on this afternoon. 95% of INMO members voted to go on strike. And as I said, the strikes will involve the withdrawal of labour for 24-hour periods. Now, obviously, there will be skeleton staff and so on. The hospitals won't be closed down. They will remain open, but it will make a bad situation worse. And no matter what way we want to look at this, even if you fully support the nurses, we have to accept that them going out on strike is going to make a bad situation in our hospitals worse. Siobhan, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Siobhan.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you, Siobhan. Siobhan, your cousin is a nurse based in the UK, is that right?
Yeah, so my cousin Anna basically moved over to the UK. She's just outside of Manchester. She's working for the NHS. She absolutely loves working for the NHS. She recently won an award for her work on the NHS and got promoted. She has no plans to come back to Ireland. You know, basically the wages are too low. She'll never be able to afford a house in Dublin. Like, what's the point? She'll be able to buy a nice house over there in the UK. Like, so the government is just not retaining the nurses that they have. Like,
I assume she received her training here, did she?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Like, the government paid to put her through Trinity College for 4 years, and they just let her go. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, they didn't let her go. She chose to go, did she not?
Well, I don't think she had a choice, Adrian. Like, how could you pay €800 or €900 a month in rent in Dublin and be on the wages that you just described there?
You couldn't, is the simple answer to that. You absolutely, you absolutely couldn't. And I don't know where you'd get somewhere to rent for £800 or £900 a month, unless you're sharing with 5 people. But I take your point. So she never sees a time where she'd come back, does she?
No, at the beginning when she first went over, she thought, oh, maybe eventually I'll come back to Ireland. But as I said, she's just got on so well in the NHS and has got a promotion. And I think they really value their staff and want to keep their staff. And there's like a little community of Irish nurses over there. And, you know, she's into GA over there and she's kind of built a life over there. So I can't see her coming back. Like, how would she ever save to buy a house in Dublin, outside of Dublin, even if she did move down the country? And as well, you know, when she was doing her practice in hospitals, they could be working extra hours, 12 hours on your feet all day, as that woman said. So, you know, you're just not valued as an employee in Ireland. So the government only have themselves to blame.
All right, stay there for 1 second, Siobhan. I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. And if you're in a situation that you can't take a phone call or can't be on the phone, you can send us a sneaky WhatsApp voice message to 0877 98 98 98, just like this one.
I voted for strike action because nurses are continually overlooked. We are not paid the same as other healthcare specialities. We train as hard as them. We work ridiculously long hours under extreme pressure, and we have never had our wages brought back to where they were before the pay cuts for the public servants come in. We sacrifice so much. We sacrifice families, hobbies, everything. We put everything on the back burner, and our jobs always come first. 70% of the attacks on public servants were on nurses last year, and that's quite a high number. We do what we do, continue to smile, but the service we provide is invaluable. There isn't anybody else does exactly what we do.
By the way, that is a nurse who we were talking to on Twitter, who literally snuck outside the hospital that she works in just to send that WhatsApp voice message. You can do the exact same. You can send it to us to 0877 98 98 98. Now, Jeremy is here with big reaction to this coming in from all over the place.
Yeah, and in a minute, just to put a handle on this, Adrian, and to give some perspective, after the break, we're going to be talking to a woman, okay, who's working as a nurse now, but before that, she was working in a deli counter making sandwiches, okay? So just get that into your head for a second, okay? She was making sandwiches in a deli counter, then trained as a nurse, yeah? Mm-hmm. She's going to tell us in a moment she was making more money making sandwiches in a deli.
Okay, tell me some of the messages that are coming in to us.
Nurses are literally the backbone of hospitals. I fully support their right to strike, says Amy. Rob says, I read in the news last week that train drivers are starting off wage as 45k. How in God's name does a train driver deserve more money than a nurse? Well, you see, Rob, that's a me against them situation. You could argue that about anything. You could argue, does a footballer deserve 75 grand a week when a nurse is getting buttons? So you can't compare the two. It's not train drivers' fault that is the wage that they get. While I support, and I think this was the point you were making, Adrian, this is from Carl, he says, while I support the nurses and their strike, they know what they're getting into. There are certain jobs that I never took after I left college because I knew the wages were crap. It's one of the most publicised things in Ireland that nurses that get paid crap.
Okay, but the argument here is that the wages shouldn't be crap because we have to have nurses. We don't have a health service if we don't have nurses. I was giving the example of I wouldn't have taken the job with 98 if the wages weren't good, but the world will survive without me on the radio. Do you know what I mean? The world won't survive without nurses in hospitals.
I don't think the word will survive without you on the radio, to be honest.
Yeah.
Christine says it's bizarre, and actually Christine's point is something I can relate to as well. I was in hospital in the UK recently visiting a family member, and I couldn't get over how many of the staff working in the hospital were actually Irish. It's sad that our own nursing staff have to leave the country to get a job, and that's something I spent a lot of time in hospitals in the UK over the last few years visiting family members, and it's bizarre. You go into a hospital, Adrian, in central London, and the nurse that greets you is, how are you? I'm from Carlow. It's mad. All our nurses are gone to the UK. And finally, and this is another point that would probably annoy people, their wages reflect how much time they have to spend in college. They're hardly going to get doctors' wages or consultants' wages. They are nurses, for God's sake. They change bandages and do people actually believe that that's all they do? And do daily checks.
There's somebody who hasn't been in the hospital for a long time. Seriously.
If they think they just change bandages.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll take more of your calls in just a moment. Our telephone number is 6797 981.
98 FM's Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. Huge January sale now on in all departments.
98 FM.
That nurse's message that I played just a couple of moments ago, she's delighted that we played her message, her voice message on WhatsApp, but she said on just replying to us that she is absolutely hectic at the moment. Now, she hasn't told us what hospital she works in, but you could apply that to absolutely every hospital in the city that is hectic. Let me read out another one of your messages that's just come in, and I'd love to know how many people feel this way. Nurses do know what they're signing up for when they get into that profession. I always thought it was a vocation. It wasn't about pay. As for the ones who jump ship as soon as they get their degree, they should either be made stay and work here for at least 5 years, or they should be made to pay the state back for the education that they got. Now, I know a lot of people agree with that statement, but no matter what job you have, an awful lot of people can't afford to rent in Dublin, hence the current homeless crisis. So that's not really a very valid argument for strike action, says Liz. Isabel, we mentioned your upcoming call just before the break there. Tell me your story.
I'm a mature student who was working in the supermarket making sandwiches. And I felt that in my quality of life and my self-esteem I was very unhappy with what I was doing. And my mum actually encouraged me to go into nursing. And one of the things that I've realised after I've entered into this career is that I don't clock in. I don't sign in when I start my job, and I don't sign in when I leave my job. So where I worked in the supermarket and I got paid overtime, and I had an 11-hour break between one shift and the next, and that was law. In nursing, I don't have that. I could be in a situation where I'm leaving the ward, it's my end of shift, and something's happened and I have to stay. I don't get paid for that extra hour to support my colleagues and to make sure that patient is stable. I don't get any reconciliation for the fact that I leave with a 10-hour difference between leaving the hospital and re-entering the hospital.
Well, let me ask you a question, and take this whatever way you want. Is your job, and this is no disrespect to people behind deli counters, but is your job not a bit more fulfilling than, and that's something you can't put a price on, more fulfilling than being behind a deli counter?
Oh, it is, absolutely. But the physical ramifications of taking it on, and the mental strain and the physical strain, isn't taken to, like, this is why the ballot has come through, is because we're not seeing as somebody that is worthwhile, financially to invest in and to give. Part of our thing is that we're working more hours than we're actually rostered for. We're doing a lot more on the ground. Can
I ask you, Isabella, are you sorry you got into it?
Oh no. This is my quality of life, and my quality of my personal mental life and my personal life has tripled.
And that's the point that I was making, and it's something you can't put a price on.
No.
And that is the fulfillment that you can get from your job and seeing people get better and all of that, I should imagine, is something that is one of the reasons, and this is why people call it a vocation, is one of the reasons that people get into it in the first place.
Absolutely, but unlike my previous job, which I'd actually applied for a mortgage with and had been accepted for, I can't do that on this wage. And that makes me have to rethink about long term whether I can actually sustain this. Because at the end of the day, I have a life to live, and I have a need. Beyond my personal, beyond my professional workspace, that I have a personal need to be able to sustain myself long term. And unfortunately, this might actually provide. I'm making sandwiches, which I found mentally just draining and just monotonous and boring, and wasn't fulfilling and wasn't helping anybody. It has led me to a situation where I can't even get a mortgage, but I could if I made a sandwich. For 10 hours a day.
It does seem ridiculous. It absolutely does. Stay there for a moment. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Linda, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Linda.
Hiya.
Now, Linda, what do you want to say?
Yeah, well, I have a 15-year-old daughter that on the 1st of July woke up with a spider bite on her leg, so we attended GDoc that day, and 2 weeks later it still wasn't healing. Ended up in the GP's. She referred me to a dressing clinic in Finglas that wouldn't see her because she was under 15, under 16, so they told me to bring her to Temple Street. So after a couple of visits, a girl called Debbie, a nurse, really quick and efficient, couldn't fault her care. Every 2 days, 3 days, she was in and out, got doctors to look at her, plastic surgeons to have a look at her, but only for her quick acting. I don't think her leg would have healed very quickly.
And your point being that there are many members of the nursing staff that go above and beyond, basically.
Yeah, only for her. Even down to making appointments for her to go in on a Sunday, even though the dressing clinic wasn't there. No, so she was really, really efficient. And even some of the days that you were there, doctors were looking, and doctors were asking her what would we put on it. They had no clue, down to dressings and little things like that. Little things that can be big things sometimes. No, because her leg probably wouldn't have healed. She's left with a lovely scar, but it could have been worse. She could have lost part of her leg. Only
for the dedication of one particular nurse. That's great to hear. And I know there are an awful lot of nurses like that. And that goes back, I think, Isabel, to the point that I was making about, yes, money obviously is an important factor, but you have to be, I've always believed this, people don't get into nursing for money, obviously, because the money is crap. But people get into nursing for more than just the career. Am I right? Is that why you decided to do it?
Nursing is so dynamic. That's what I love about it. I have the opportunity to advance, I have the opportunity to learn more things, and I have an opportunity to help people that need help but don't know how to access it. I have the skills and the ability to learn more to help people in a time of need, and it's a time that all of us will come to. And yes, it is a very fulfilling role, but it's an unfortunate role that may not. I hear about students leaving the country, and when you're a student, you actually work as part of your internship. You only get paid in your fourth year after Christmas. You actually do 2 months in first year, 3 months in second year, and 4 months in fourth year, and a month in fourth year, all for free.
Yes, in fact, only before Christmas we spoke to a student nurse who has a whole campaign about the way in which student nurses are treated. Sean, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Sean?
I'm good, Jeremy. How are you?
Well, I'm Adrian, but that's okay. Sean, you work in you're involved in a charity that helps intensive care units. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I founded a charity called Bikers Ride Out for Crimes, and we're just normal bikers, and we fundraise every year for 12 hospitals around Ireland, where we find out what they need in the IT unit to make their job easier. So we buy them equipment that would prolong and work with saving the life of a premature baby. And I've met so many nurses over the last 6 years in doing this voluntary all the way around Ireland, and they just do not get the credit they deserve. I mean, for instance, I can bring you to an IT unit and show you an incubator with machines all attached to it, and I have never seen a nurse not pay attention to every piece of equipment, and they don't walk away when it's time to go home. They're constantly checking. They'd never walk away from one of those pieces of equipment that's trying to keep that baby alive. And here we are sort of arguing with the government, they're not paid enough. We all know they're not paid enough. Why isn't someone doing something about it? And
Okay,
also,
so you fully support the nurses in this dispute. Okay, all right. And sorry to cut across you, Sean, because I'm just about out of time on this. But one last call. Sarah, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
You're 20 and you can't believe that young people need to worry about this. What do you mean by that?
Well, like, in the situation that I'm in at the minute, my dad is 49 years of age and he's waiting on a heart transplant. Now, at any stage, he could take a turn and need to be brought to the hospital as soon as possible. Like, if they do go on strike, which I totally agree that the nurses do need more money, everyone can see that. Why are the government putting us in this situation that we have to worry about our loved ones?
Okay, so your blame here for these strikes to be announced this afternoon is on the government, not the nurses.
Well, yeah, because the nurses, like, I've been sat in hospital for hours on end with my dad and my sister, and, like, I see the nurses are the ones that do everything. They are run off their feet. The doctors are not the ones that do everything. I know that's not the argument at the minute, but the doctors are obviously getting paid a lot more money than the nurses, but it should be really the other way around, in my opinion.
All right, well, I mean, realistically, doctors are very highly qualified. Some of them study for 7 or 10 years. So,
of course, I understand that. I understand that completely. But, like, you know, the nurses are the ones that are run off their feet.
And in fact, somebody just texted in a second ago to say the bottom line is that nurses are the backbone of all hospitals and deserve a pay increase. Look, thank you very much, Dee, for your call, and thank you for all of your calls. Certainly from what I'm seeing today, even before the dates of these strikes are announced, I'm seeing a huge volume of support for the nurses. We'll see whether that changes over the next couple of weeks when these strikes actually start kicking in, and I've no doubt it's something we'll be coming back to over the next couple of weeks. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. After the break, I'm going to lighten things up for the last little bit of the show, because after the break, one of the strangest topics we've ever spoken about. It's about something private that many of you do in your bedroom every night. Don't worry, it's not rude. I'll explain what I'm talking about straight after the break.
98 FM's Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. Huge January sale now on in all departments.
98 FM.
Did you sleep with a stuffed animal, a doll or a blanket as a child? I'm sure the answer for most of us is yes. And funny enough, from what I'm reading today, a lot of us still do. We're also still relying on such items for comfort when we're in our grown-up years. Known as transitional objects in the psychology world, they can still provide a sense of safety for young adults starting college or a new job. Now, psychologists have said today that it is nothing unusual and there's nothing strange about it. I'm talking about, like, sleeping with a stuffed animal, like a little teddy bear or a doll or a blanket, which you did as a kid. There's nothing weird about you if you still do it as an adult. Earlier this year, a mattress company surveyed 200 people about their past sleeping habits, and if you still sleep with a stuffed animal, 59% of people admitted to having some sort of a comfort item that they sleep with. And they included stuffed animals, special blankets, a special cushion, or a doll. Have you got one? If you have, I want you to text or WhatsApp me now on 0877 98 98 98. You can call us, better still, on 6797 981. Now, our Jeremy has been doing some research into this. And
yes, we have a Twitter poll going at the moment, and we want to see if you, the listeners, are similar by text. So simply text us and let us know. Do you have... Now, obviously, you have to be over 18 for this to actually matter. But if you are over 18... do you have a cuddly toy in your bed, be it a teddy bear or whatever the case may be? Or maybe it's a doll, because one of the things that adults are sleeping with is dolls as well. It's a common thing, Adrian, for a grown woman to have a doll, like a Tiny Tears from her childhood, stuff with her.
That she still sleeps with?
She still sleeps with, yeah.
Well, we asked on Twitter whether or not, experts have said there's nothing strange or weird about adults sleeping with comfort blankets or teddy bears. Do you do it? And from our Twitter poll, 33% of you said yes. 66% said no, but 33% of you said yes, you do sleep with a comfort item.
Now, to find out how common this was, because I'm one of those people, hands up, I'm one of the 33%. And
who do you sleep with?
Beremy is his name.
Beremy?
Beremy. I bought him in the Build-A-Bear in Dundrum, and I'll show you a photograph of him, actually, Adrian. There is Beremy there, and as you can see...
isn't he lovely?
And I bought a little... I bought Beremy about 3 years ago. I was in Build-A-Bear buying a bear for my son, and I said, I'll buy a bear for myself, and I bought Beremy, and Beremy has a little... Can you describe what Beremy is wearing, Adrian?
He's wearing a waistcoat and a tie and a shirt.
Yeah, he's a very smart bear. So we decided, before we went on air, to ring the Build-A-Bear factory in Dundrum to find out how big of an issue it is. And we spoke to a woman who works there called Amy in Dundrum. And Amy told us, Adrian, that there are more parents buying teddy bears for themselves than ever before. And they're doing exactly what I did. They're going into the Build-A-Bear factory and they're buying a bear for little Amy, their daughter, and they're buying one for themselves as well.
Okay, if you're somebody who has a comfort item, I'd love to hear from you. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98.
Oh, and let us know his name as well.
Yes, 0877 98 98 98. Now, it doesn't have to be a bear. It can be a special cushion, or maybe that blanket you've been sucking on since you were 2.
Well, I would
have probably rancid now.
I hope you would have washed it at this stage.
I would think so. Yeah. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. What is your comfort item? And just text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98 and let me know what your comfort item is and how important your comfort item is to you.
Now, do you... sorry, I know the answer before. Because you've no soul, you wouldn't have it. That wouldn't be your type of thing, would it?
No.
It cuddling into a teddy bear. Why?
No.
It gives you... Bury when I get home at night, sometimes...
I have my dog for that. I have my 2 dogs for that, actually.
Different discussion. Different discussion for a different day. But when I arrive home sometimes late at night, if I'm out late, and my wife is asleep, and she's told me before that when she's asleep, she doesn't want me going near her, she doesn't want me cuddling her to wake her up. So sometimes I will turn around and Beremy will be in between myself and my wife, and I'll turn around and I'll give Beremy a little hug.
Interesting.
I've probably said too much.
What is your comfort item? Text or WhatsApp me 0877 98 98 98. And as I said, we're not talking about your dog. Okay, my comfort item would be the dogs. I sat on the sofa for a whole hour last night with them just lying on top of me, and it was it's actually a lovely feeling. But anyway, we're not talking about pets. We're talking about they could be blankets or a stuffed animal or a special cushion or a doll. But you're an adult, and in theory you should be over all of this. 33% of you on our Twitter poll earlier on said you do have a comfort item. What is yours? Adele.
Hi.
Hi, Adele.
Hey.
Adele. Yeah, you have
I have a teddy bear called Wrinkles. Now, I have had her since I was 3, but I still have her.
So you've had Wrinkles since you were 3, and and is she still an important part of your life, or do you just still have her?
No, I still have her, and she comes on holidays with me.
Really?
Yeah.
So you pack Wrinkles into the suitcase?
Yeah, I do. She doesn't even go in the suitcase. She goes in the carry-on. I'd be heartbroken if I ever lost her.
So how old is Wrinkles now?
Wrinkles will be 25.
25? She must be in bits, is she?
No, she's still intact.
And have you ever had to bring her to the Have you ever had to bring her to the teddy bear hospital or anything?
No. My mom has actually had to sew her a few times, but she's very good at sewing her. She's only came apart, not even come apart, just like little holes, and she'd sew her back up for me.
So there is nobody like Wrinkles? No other bear could ever replace Wrinkles?
No, because she was actually a teddy bear that was given to me by my mom, who, when my brother had been taken to go to Spain with my granny, and I couldn't go because I was too young at the time. So she was kind of like my replacement brother kind of thing.
Okay, so Wrinkles it is, and long live Wrinkles.
Yeah, I know.
Good luck.
Bye.
6797981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. What is your comfort item? David, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. How are you, David?
Adrian, how are you doing? How are you?
David, it says on my screen here, David has a doll.
Yep. And it's called Me Missus.
Sorry?
That's Me Missus. And I've had it since I was about 3 months old, and I'm nearly 49 years of age.
So hang on, whoa. This doll that you've had since you were a kid is called My Missus.
No, Me Missus.
Oh, Me Missus.
Oh, yes, Me Missus, yes.
So since you were a little boy, you've had this doll that you called Me Missus.
Yeah, and my missus is just walking past me, rolling her eyes to heaven. Yeah.
So hang on, so do you take this doll to bed?
No, it's in the top of the wardrobe. I know exactly where it is, like, you know.
Right, okay. So you're, and what does your actual missus think about you having a doll called Me Missus?
Well, like I said, she just walked past me, rolling her eyes to heaven.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And okay, so me missus. Well, your missus does, but me missus doesn't sleep in the bed with you. But obviously an important part of your history that you want to hang on to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Now, what age did you get me missus?
It was bought for me when I was about 3 months old.
When you were about 3 months old. And what sort of a doll is it?
It's a little small stuffed doll with a plastic face. It's probably about 7 or 8 inches long, you know, sort of way. It's blue and white.
Now, it would have been unusual when you were a young fella for a boy to have a doll.
Oh, there you go, I mean.
You were a trendsetter.
There you go, yeah, I'm way ahead of my time.
Way ahead of your time. All right, very good. Tell your missus that I can understand why she thinks having me missus is a little bit odd. But anyway, good luck to you. Thanks, David. Amanda, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Amanda.
How are you?
There's a 30-year-old bear in your house.
There is. Well, actually, my son has 2 bears. So he has a little lamb that was a white teddy lamb, and he is 42 years old because it was my cousin's, but he's now grey and he has half a neck and everything. But my son still religiously every night goes to bed with a blue bear who's 30 years old and Lamsey who is 42 years old.
Now, this isn't Bear in the Big Blue House. This is a different blue bear, is it?
No, this is just a normal blue bear that my brother got when he was born 30 years ago, and it's been handed down now to my son.
And has it got a name?
Just Blue Bear.
Oh, just Blue Bear. Oh, okay.
Just Blue Bear, yeah. And he has a lamb that's 42 years old, a lamb teddy, and he calls him Lamsey. And the 2 of them go everywhere with him.
And do you have one that you share a bed with?
No. I only share a bed with my big partner, who's a big bear, but apart from that, no.
All right, fair enough. All right, thanks, Amanda. Jennifer, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Jennifer?
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Back in the day when you were a little girl, the television programme Rosie and Jim would have been a thing.
Yeah.
And you have Rosie and Jim.
I do.
Rosie and Jim. They're the ones that lived on the barge, aren't they?
Indeed.
Yep, yeah, I remember them well. And so, Rosie, and you have both dolls, have you?
Yeah, my mum bought me Rosie, and at the time, she didn't have a credit card, so she said, oh, I can't get her both, I can only afford one. So my auntie bought me. So I've had Rosie and Jim, and I'm 29 this year, so I've had them literally 29 years.
And do they sleep with you? Do they go everywhere with you?
Rosie used to go everywhere with me. I even cut her hair when I was about 5 with my little brother in the room, and I told my mum I was lucky that I didn't cut his hair.
Right, fair enough. But Rosie's hair probably didn't grow back.
No.
No.
My mum has all the hairs, and one day she says I can stitch them back on if I want to.
Fair enough. So Rosie and Jim you've had for 29 years.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, and we just wrap this up with a WhatsApp message that's just come into us. And by the way, if you want to send us a sneaky WhatsApp voice message, even if you're at work, you just kind of go to the jacks or go out the front door or whatever, and you can send us a sneaky WhatsApp message to 0877 98 98 98, just like this message here.
Hi lads, in work here, so can't really talk. Yeah, I have a teddy bear. I'm 37 years of age. I have a teddy bear. I don't know, there's photos of me with this teddy Bobo since I'm 2. And my kid is now 7, my son, and he has it since he's around 2 as well, and sleeps with it every night and brings it away on holidays. So, there you go.
Ah, nice. There you go. An awful lot of people have. For me, it's just me dogs. That's it from us for today. Thanks for listening. I've enjoyed your company. We're back with you again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. If you want to get in contact with us for anything to bring up on the programme, send us an email to dublintalks@98fm.com. You can send us a private message through facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. Have a great Tuesday. Barry Dunn is next, and in the next hour he's got some great music live from Dundrum Town Centre, like these.
Trouble in America. 98 FM's Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. Huge January sale now on in all departments.
98 FM.